But they really didn't address the comparison to Spider-Man's web swinging thing at all. They were just like, well, you know what? That's just one of many things. That was it. They weren't like, no, or we took inspiration from that, sure. Or yeah, we thought that was a very cool way of going about traversing a city. No, they're like, do you know what? It's just one thing. We have tons of cool other stuff. Let's talk about those. NetEase is known for making some pretty pay-to-win games, for monetizing them pretty egregiously. Can you tell us if that's gonna be the same with Project Mugen? You know what? So about that, yeah, we're focusing on game development right now. We're not concerning ourselves with monetization. Next question. I was browsing the internet the other day when I happened across this article on Games Radar titled "The Devs Behind the Stunning Open World RPG Project Mugen Explain How It Actually Plays." Project Mugen, of course, is one of 2024's most hotly anticipated new upcoming gacha games. After seeing the trailer for it, we're all hyped. There's some people out there that are labeling it the Genshin killer. That's just not gonna happen. Best case scenario, it kills Tower of Fantasy, which, if we're being entirely honest here, is not very difficult to achieve. The reason I'm excited for it is because it's something different, something that feels genuinely unique and interesting, that isn't necessarily a Genshin Impact clone or direct competition for Honkai Star Rail or Wuthering Waves or Arknight's Enfield or any of the other popular upcoming gacha games. The devs talk about the global launch. Okay, that is very important. Genshin Impact comparisons. So they're addressing this right out the gate. They want to make sure that people know they're not a Genshin Impact clone. The Spider-Man swinging and more. Urban open world RPG Project Mugen popped out of nowhere back in August, and we haven't learned much about the game since the updated trailer published NetEase released last month. Even so, the Genshin Impact Grand Theft Auto themes were more than enough to perk up my ears, but there was still a lot I didn't know about the game, and it's seemingly not coming out anytime soon. Oh, that's depressing. Not coming out anytime soon. So are we talking like no 2024 release? Is it more along the lines of 2025? So I was eager to talk to the folks at developer Naked Rain about how it actually plays. So I sent some questions over just before the updated trailer dropped, hoping to learn a bit more. After speaking with lead producer Ash T, Project Mugen simultaneously sounds more and less like Genshin Impact than I expect. Okay, that's concerning. More like Genshin Impact. From combat to exploration. Yes, this comparison, which has colored much of the conversation about the game, is one thing I really wanted to talk about. So what is Project Mugen really? It's a gacha game. That is what it is. Project Mugen has gotten and will surely continue to get a lot of comparisons to Genshin Impact. How do you feel about this point of reference? Would you say it's fair, accurate, flattering? We feel that what makes Project Mugen different and appealing is that it's an urban open world, which means that we can experience many things that we don't have a chance to do in our daily urban lives. For example, we can watch live shows, go to the cafe, play arcade games, have a ride on a Ferris wheel. The first city, Nova Inception Urbs, holds more than 10 different areas for exploring, including a business district, beach, amusement park, and factory. So essentially, what makes you different to Genshin Impact, and what he said was not different gameplay, different story. No, what he said is, we're not a fantasy game, that's it. Genshin's a fantasy game, we're an urban game, so we'll have different buildings, and because we're set in a different setting, we're also going to have different like mini games and things that we can interact with. So you're not going to be running up little mountains, instead you're going to be running up buildings. I mean, that doesn't do much to really dissuade comparisons with Genshin Impact, unfortunately. The grappling hook style swinging down in the reveal trailer resembles the Spider-Man games, especially the modern games made by Insomniac. When you speak to how the swinging system came about, and your goals for it, can every character swing around like this? Our goal was to design a traversal system that required no stamina. Thank God. Thank fucking God. I hate stamina constraints when traveling. Fuck Breath of the Wild for doing that. Grappling and swinging is just one of those many methods. Players can explore the cities and solve problems by moving freely and seamlessly through the urban landscape, taking advantage of grappling, swinging, parkour, and wall climbing. Or by running or driving, which I think is actually a very cool feature to have in the game, driving. I hope we can actually have multiple players occupy a vehicle with us. I think that'd be very cool, like getting together a group of friends and just driving off a cliff somewhere and getting everyone killed. That'd be kind of fun. And we're continuing to explore further modes of travel. Some of the characters have unique moving methods. Take Taffy, for example. Her hammer can be used as a weapon for fighting or as a vehicle for riding. You can ride her hammer. All right, okay. Cool, but they really didn't address the comparison to Spider-Man's web swinging thing at all. They were just like, well, you know what? That's just one of many things. That was it. They weren't like, no, or we took inspiration from that, sure, or yeah, we thought that was a very cool way of going about traversing a city. No, they're like, do you know what? It's just one thing. We have tons of cool other stuff. Let's talk about those. I want to nail down some more basics of gameplay. In combat, will players be rapidly swapping between multiple characters in the party or focusing more on one character at a time? The basic battle mode in this game involves choosing 4 characters to form the team and then to engage in battle. Each character has different attributes, and some of those attributes may synergize with each other, which hopefully offers you up a deep and strategic combat system. Each team can also equip a special ability, including crowd control, telekinesis buffs, and more to add another dimension of combat. That sounds pretty cool, because it adds levels of depth to characters that aren't present in other games, but at the same time, it looks like they're trying to introduce skills that synergize with one another. I'm not sure if that means something along the lines of Genshin Impact's elemental synergy, how you can place out like a fire, use a wind attack, it turns into like a flame tornado or something like that. The open world has been a big hook for a lot of viewers. How big is the urban environment and how freely can players explore? Nova Inception Urbs is the first city that players will get to explore, and it was developed with influences from East Asian? What the fuck? East Asian culture. This is what happens when I record at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm half asleep and I'm trying to focus and function here. It contains more than 10 distinct areas on a seamless map. These areas include a shopping street, the beach, public parks, and an amusement park, and more. There will also be more cities available as we progress, some inspired by European and American cultures. Our aim is to offer players a vast and immersive open world that encourages players to travel around the world. You have an open world game. That is encouragement enough to travel around the world. Now, before we go any further and read anything more about Project Mugen, I want to take a moment here to thank our incredible patrons over on Patreon. Allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this on new upcoming released gacha games, gacha drama in general. You guys are unbelievably cool. With this being a free-to-play game, and there being quite some precedent for NetEase games, can you speak to how Project Mugen will be monetized? We're paying much more attention right now on the game design and content creation. NetEase is known for making some pretty pay-to-win games, for monetizing them pretty egregiously. Can you tell us if that's gonna be the same with Project Mugen? You know what? So about that, yeah, we're focusing on game development right now. We're not concerning ourselves with monetization. Next question. Oh man, this interview is great. Like, these are the questions we need to ask. This is what we need to do. We need to make sure these guys are under a microscope. This is the only way we're gonna get a decent game out of this. By making sure they know that we don't want a shit game. We don't want pay to win. We don't want an egregiously monetized game. We want something different and unique to Genshin Impact. We only have a limited reveal and early pre-registration right now. Do you have any sort of launch window for when Project Mugen will be playable? Can players expect any sort of early access through beta tests? Our team is still working very hard to develop the game, so we haven't committed to a specific launch window yet. We expect a global launch, so they do expect a global launch in the future. Just in the future. They never confirmed whether it'll be a simultaneous global launch like with Honkai, like with Genshin, or if they're gonna launch in China first and then, you know, months or years later release globally. We also plan to launch localized versions for other markets, so this also adds to the development timeline. So that was an interesting read. In this interesting article, they confirmed pretty much absolutely nothing at all. They elaborated on pretty much absolutely nothing. When when asked to elaborate on certain features, they immediately redirected the conversation to something else. Let's talk about game development. No, we have lots of other stuff we're doing and working on right now. Like, I get it. You don't want to compare your game to Genshin Impact. That's literally a nail in the coffin, a premature nail in the coffin for your game. I get that. You don't want to tell people, yeah, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money to get all the characters in the game because it's gonna turn people away from playing it. Because honestly, you're already paying a lot of money to get waifus in Genshin and Honkai and Nikke and Punishing Grey Raven and Blue Archive and all the other gacha games you're playing. You don't want to have to spend an egregious amount in another game. And then with regards to global, they're like, you know, we're planning a release for global in the future. It's happening. So ultimately, you know, kind of big news, but at the same time, not really, if you know what I mean, because we got a glimpse into what they're doing and how they're going about this. It's a little, I wouldn't say it's concerning, because they're just trying to redirect away from the topics that are being openly discussed, because they either don't have a concrete answer yet, or they just don't want you knowing. Either way, very interesting read, very interesting interview. I'm very excited for Project Mugen. I'm going to continue covering it as more information is made readily available. I hope you're excited for it too, but if you're not, then absolutely no problem. I got 2 different videos on screen right now that might be of more interest to you. Bam, you're welcome. Recording at 2 a.m. done.